This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. When we think about the COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy in the Black community, let's remember, it didn't happen by chance. It's justified in history. But the will to change the narrative is strong today, and our people are lending their voices to the conversation. We're sharing our stories and the reasons that made us choose the vaccine so we can lead the way for others to make a well-informed choice too. To hear our stories, visit hereforuswa.org.
What's up? It's your boy, The Ted Smith. Thanks for listening to the Men's Room Daily Podcast. Want more? Check out the greatest podcast in all the land, The Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and listen to a brand new episode every Tuesday night.
99.9 KISW. We return to the men's room with Miles and Thrill.
Casey Musgraves. Haven't heard of her? She is a country music star. Mm-hmm. And she gave Architectural Digest a tour of her Nashville home, and it's gorgeous, and it's all hers, which is important to the story because she bought it while she was going through a divorce. She said, quote, "I want a place that felt like me, where I can express myself without having to think about another person and what they might want." That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, you can just do whatever in the hell you wanted to, and nobody can say, no, you can't put that there. The best parts of the tour when she shows off her personal items. There's fun stuff she's been making in pottery class, photos of her mom and granddad, plus quirky things she's collected throughout the years, like a guitar from the 1800s and a fatty from a famous fellow Texan. That would be Willie Nelson. I've got a frame joint from Willie Nelson. That's going to stay there unless I need to break it in case of emergency. How and why did this even happen? She gave a little more detail in the article. Quote, "He rolled this huge fatty, and we all sat around and smoked it with him. Then he said, save the rest for another time. So I did." So basically, not only is it a joint, but it's a joint that's been burned.
I dig it, man.
Yeah.
It's part of a joint.
What was the, man, it was an older movie, but what was the, was it Danny DeVito, Michael Douglas? Somebody quit smoking. It was like, maybe it was War of the Roses. But they had a joint that was framed in a plastic case on top of their desk. And the idea being that, like...
Case of an emergency.
Man, I quit smoking a long time.
Right.
Just in case I have one of those days. I've got that cigarette sitting right in front of me. What is your ultimate memento or souvenir? 206-421-ROCK.
Hello, Tom. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola.
Hola.
So, I'm a comic book collector, and last year I got to meet my all-time favorite comic book writer-artist, and he signed a copy of The Death of Superman for me.
Who wrote that? Who's the guy that wrote that one?
That was Dan Jurgens.
And it
was a writing team, but the actual death issue was written and drawn by Dan Jurgens.
And if I have this correct, so when they did one of the more recent Superman movies, and Superman dies at the hands of, was it Doomsday? Is that the cat's name?
That's correct, yeah.
Was that based on the comic? Because that's who killed Superman the first time around, right? In the comics?
Yeah, it was. They've actually had 3 different adaptations of The Death of Superman, 2 animated and the 1 live action, and it was Doomsday every time.
Ah, okay.
Okay, what year did that comic book get released? Because I seem to remember
93.
it. Yeah, I thought that was in our
Was
lifetime.
it 93? Wow, okay. For some reason I was thinking the 80s. Yeah. Okay.
And what do you think that values the comic at now? Compared to having does it devalue it in a weird way if you have a signature on an original comic?
No, so the value is ultimately determined by the book's value. And if you have a signature on it, depending on the signature can help bump the value, but it all starts with the actual value of the book. I used to have an X-Men book that was signed by Chris Claremont, who's an X-Men writing legend, but the book itself was like a $3 book. So I think I got $30 off of it.
Let me ask you this, and I know this sounds stupid, but say you have the comic book, The Death of Superman, okay? And instead of meeting your idol, you bump into Mick Jagger. You're at the airport, you want him to sign something, and Mick Jagger signs your Superman comic. Would that devalue it? Does it elevate it, or would it have any, you know what I mean? Because
that is kind of weird.
Mick Jagger.
It has nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with the comic, but Mick Jagger, whether you like the Stones or not, icon, right? So you get Mick Jagger's autograph, but it's on your comic book. Do you think that would take the price up or down?
I mean, the fact that it's Mick Jagger's autograph would make a big difference. I mean, you get that certified, yeah, you could sell, the signature would sell more than the book.
Right. Okay.
So, I mean, I honestly have no idea, because that becomes a very select group of people who'd be willing to get that.
I do remember as a kid, one of the things that you could sign up for, and if you were a Star Wars comic book fan, which I was a Star Wars geek.
Right.
So Star Wars had all these, they had different comics, but it was a different tale than the original movie, which was,
right.
Not the movie we saw was a movie, but the comic books kind of went off in a direction of, there was a lot of oceans involved, different planets, and all these different things. Well, in the back of the comic, one of the things they had was a chance to win an autographed poster of the original Star Wars movie. And it was signed by all the major characters. So David Prowse, who played Darth Vader, he signed it. Mark Hamill signed it. Carrie Fisher, all the regular Harrison Ford. But the way that they advertised it at the time was signed by the legendary actor Sir Alec Guinness.
Yeah. That was the sales pitch.
Even though they had all the other signatures on there from Harrison Ford and you name it, the one signature that meant the most that was on that poster. So you entered for a chance to win that poster. So of course I entered for a chance to win that poster, which meant that I cut off the proof I purchased from my comic book, which made it
devalues it instantly,
essentially worthless. But I'm like, dude, could you imagine having the original poster signed by all the people that were starring in that movie?
And do you know whose autograph would warrant the least amount of excitement? Sir Alec Guinness. Yep.
Well, no, but then he was a legendary stage actor. He was
absolutely. That's why George Lucas went to get him. And in fact, Alec Guinness, he read the script, didn't want to do it. I think his agent.
They gave him 3% of the total profits.
Well, he did. Sir Alec Guinness said, "Look, I don't even understand what this is about. This is not." He's like, "I don't understand the movie. I don't really get the point of it. I don't understand my character's point, but I can do the lines, and my name being in the movie, hopefully, will draw some people." But he wasn't a big fan of the movie, so they cut some kind of deal. He really just wanted to not be associated with it before it was released. Mm-hmm. Nobody had any idea what it would become. So he just said, "I'll tell you what, man, instead of paying me what I would normally command, just give me 3% of the profit." Oh, he became a Star Wars fan real quick after that. 3% of that is huge, man.
What is your ultimate memento or souvenir? 206-421-ROCK.
Hello, Joe. Welcome to the men's room.
Good afternoon. Hola.
Hola.
Liquor and horrors.
Yeah, and liquor and horrors, yes.
Hey, listen, guys. So my, well, let me take you off speaker here. Okay. Anyways, so I've got a picture of myself and Vinnie Paul. I've been a drummer my whole life, and Vinnie Paul was like a god to me when I was a kid.
How cool was that to meet him?
Dude, I gotta have a beer with him and his entourage. Well, basically, probably bodyguards. These guys were huge.
Same difference.
I met him in Vegas.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say it had to be in Vegas because I turned around in Vegas to the Hard Rock. We were there one night checking out Taylor Monson's band. Pretty reckless. Yeah. And I turned around, there's Vinnie Paul, and we started talking about Arby's. Right. he just snuck up behind us, and we're just standing there, and I'm like, "Hey, Vinnie, what are you doing?" Because we talked to them when Hell Yeah played Pain in the Grass.
That's right. Yeah.
A number of years ago. I was like, "Hey, man, when you come to Seattle, blah, 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 blah." So we started having the Arby's conversation again. The guy loves Arby's and barbecuing. Right. So immediately...
We were at a Amazing Jonathan show in Vegas. You know, the comedian magician?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So that's where I met Vinny, and I was like, and I mean, this was like, I don't know, probably 10 years ago, but I was starstruck, and I did not feel cool hanging out with him.
But let me ask, when you hang out with the entourage, and I understand it's a big moment for you, but do you find that you don't say anything at all? Do you say too much? Are the things you're saying stupid, or do you just let them talk?
I think I spoke too much, and I probably he probably saw the stars in my eyes. Like, I mean, you know.
I was going to say, he's used to it.
He was a god to me.
Yeah, he's used to it.
He's probably used to it.
So how long did you get to hang out with him?
Deal. So I have a picture of him. It's in my dining room next to my bar. I showcase it, and it's me and him. He's pointing at me like I'm something. He's wearing this big, crazy cowboy hat, and you know how he does his beard, you know, the crazy artwork on it.
I was going to say, man, he's got the face... It's so weirdly tight, like as far as who shapes him up and all the lines in it and everything. You do find, and it looks kind of Grecian, but you did find yourself kind of staring at his face. Like you look like a tiger.
He wears it well. I mean, I was starstruck, but so that's my story. I met Vinnie Paul. I got to have a beer with him and his entourage. Obviously, you know they're going to be around him.
Hey, man, that's cool, though.
Yeah. Hey, check something out. I saw this the other day. He lived in Arlington, and they put a picture up of his mansion.
Oh, it's in Washington.
So it's for sale. No, Arlington, Texas.
Where the Cowboys play.
Right,
yeah,
yes.
So, yeah, right beside where the Rangers are.
Because I'm like, Arlington, Virginia? Texas.
It's this 80s, like I can't even describe the architecture on it.
I don't know what you'd call that.
I'm not sure. It's definitely 80s stuff, but it's quite the pad. I looked at that and I was like, of course you live in that house.
Yeah.
Of course you live in that. Like, that looks exactly like checkered kitchens. Look at this crap.
That looks like the house you would live in.
That looks like Vinnie Paul's house. What is your ultimate memento or souvenir? 206-421-ROCK.
I was going to say, I met him a couple times at different shows. Like, couldn't have been nicer.
He's always cool.
He was a great guy.
Yeah, for sure.
And I got stuck in a room with him once.
I bet you he says that about you.
Well, it was one of these deals where, like, Vinnie Paul and somebody else from Hell Yeah were going to talk about. He was set up by, like, Guitar Center or something.
All right.
And I don't know who. Somebody from the station that knows a little bit more about music than I do was supposed to host it.
Oh, no.
But they couldn't. So it was like, Ted, go on down there. And I'm like, cool.
I got this.
Right at this point in my life, like, I don't know. We've only been working here a couple of years. I don't know much about the Hell Yeah. I certainly don't know much about Pantera. And then I go, and I'm like backstage, like in the room, and there's just a bunch of beer and sex toys.
Okay.
And then he walks in, and I'm just like, hey, man. And he's like, what time are the people getting here? And I was like, I think like 10 or 20 minutes. And he's like, well, what do they want to know? Like, what do you want me to tell them? I'm like, I got to be honest with you, man, I have no idea. And he's like, really? And I was like, yeah. And I think finally he was just like, you seem nervous. Do you want one of the beers? I was like, I would love a beer. I mean, that's what I'm saying. He could have been nicer. No. It was just awkward for me. And then, like, I don't know if it was his girl. There was some very attractive woman coming in and out, and I was like, I'm just going to sit here and take it in.
Well, the guy that was between us when we were talking about Arby's and stuff, he's like, yeah, okay, guys, do you want to do shots?
Right.
And so we went up and did shots, and that guy, whoever that guy was, paid for it. I'm like, this is all right.
Nice.
I'm just going to hang out here.
I always want to do a shot if you're buying.
Right, exactly. What is your ultimate memento or souvenir? 206-421-ROCK.
Hello, Michelle. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola.
Hola.
So years ago, you guys know of those scratch tickets from the Washington State Lottery, those $5 scratch tickets to do with the Seahawks.
I know what it is. I've never won on one.
Well, I have this thing. I have a connection. This neighbor of mine has a tendency to, well, like winners or losers and stuff like that. So you keep the losers, you scratch it off. If it's a loser, you fill it out on the other side, and you send it into the lottery office. It goes into a drawing.
Sure does.
I've won that drawing 3 times.
Because no one does that.
And all 3... pretty much. No one does that. And they even told me the same thing. They said, that's probably why you've won it 3 times, too. It's true.
And how much did you win?
Anyway, so I actually won the game day experience.
Oh, what was that?
Cool. Yeah. So I'll just give you a visual of what that nice little game day experience is. So you get a +1.
All right.
And it just so ended up to be my boss. She's a great lady. She's my family. So you go down on Saturday night and you go to, used to be it was at the Hyatt Olive 8. No longer. They don't do it there anymore. They do it at, what's that hotel right across the parking lot from the Link now?
Like the Silver Cloud?
It's got the 13 coins in the basement.
Oh, yeah, the giant one.
I know exactly what we're talking about.
That might be another Hyatt.
Yep.
I think it is.
Okay, so that year, actually, that was the year I got to meet Cliff Averill, which that was pretty cool. That was the last time I went. I took my son. So the first year, actually, and it wasn't the first year. The first year, you didn't get to meet an actual celebrity. The first year, you just won all kinds of stuff and did it, and it was fun. Second year was when we got to meet Cortez Kennedy himself.
That's a big deal.
So
he's a big deal.
It was amazing. He's part of the, what do they call that? The Ring of Honor?
Yeah, Ring of Honor.
Yes. He's also in the Hall of Fame. And so we actually got to do a round table, ask all kinds of questions. And of course, we had that one guy that was the know-it-all that knew all of the stats, and we all just looked at each other like, dude, would you just shut up?
Yeah.
Even Cortez Kennedy.
Finally, one day, at one point, Cortez was like, dude, you think you know all of us, and the sad part is you just know stats.
Well, okay, look, it doesn't matter what you do. Whoever questions at the end, you know who's going to answer. You know who's going to raise their hand. Mm-hmm. You know who's going to keep in the meeting 15 minutes longer. It's the same dude every time. Every time.
And then he paid all of our bar tab.
All right. Now,
Cortez. That's how you get it done.
If I had the kind of money he does, I would too, man.
I thought about that technique of filling those things out.
Why don't you do it? She's won 3 times.
Yeah.
Like you said, almost no one does it, but you're buying these scratch-offs every day, so you probably would have won more. Based on your losing tickets, you already would have won more than she has.
I believe you're correct.
I mean, honest to God, just statistically speaking, in 17 years, at least once a day on average. Come on, man.
Well, there's a UPS store downstairs. So technically, I could do this. Just take like 40 or 50 of them, mail them back in, just see what happens.
I was going to say, in something like that, like you're a Ravens fan, but like that's still awesome.
Dude,
I always say I don't like the Cowboys, but if I was in Dallas and they were like, you want to go have drinks and dinner with a bunch of old Cowboys?
Jerry Jones?
Sure. Like, yeah.
Let's think. You're a football fan, though.
Right.
Like, it's not Sunday. Right. They say, you want to meet Dak Prescott? Sure. I got other people I'd rather meet, but yeah.
You want to meet the old dudes because you want to throw down and do drugs. You want to go to dinner with Leon Lett. You don't want to go with any of the
old Cowboys, those guys. All right, yeah.
You want to go with Randy White. You want to go with guys.
I've been out with Randy White.
Even if they're 75 years old, will still just try to drink you under the table. That's who you want to go.
Randy White, we couldn't figure out who he was at first, all right? This big to-do at a casino, whatever. And it was just, he's not particularly tall, but you could tell you weren't going to mess with this dude. And what killed me was his hair's all gray. He had the cowboy hat on. I mean, Randy White, he's an old cowboy, Dallas Cowboy from the 1970s, right? And he was part of the Super Bowl teams. Tough dude, still a tough dude, real nice. But he had a rat tail, and it just bugged me. Not a ponytail, it was just this rat tail. But again, he struck you as the kind of guy you're not really going to say anything to. So as the night progresses, I get real lit. I earned the nickname Crazy Man. And I did not realize I'd earned this nickname until the following morning. I can't remember what happened that night, but when I wake up the following morning, where all of us who were at the casino for a quote-unquote business thing, we're all down there eating breakfast. And I remember I just get down there in time. I'm like, I know I need to eat. A couple guys call me over, and sitting across the table from me is Randy White. But again, I don't realize it's Randy White. He looks vaguely familiar, but this was a radio thing. So I figured, I probably saw him in the trades or something. And as soon as I sit down, he's like, Crazy Man, and puts out his hand, right? And shaking his hand was like sticking your hand in an alligator's mouth. I mean, it's just this bone-crushing thing, And we start talking. I'm like, wait a minute, you're Randy White. And he looks at me and goes, who the F did you think I was? I don't know who the F I thought you were. I just know I wasn't going to mess with you. But I'm like, yeah, Randy White. So anyway.
I think he was a Super Bowl MVP with Chuck Howley one year.
On defense.
Two defensive
to give you an idea.
MVP. I think that's the only time it's happened in Super Bowl history.
And he's a Terp.
Is he a Terp?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh, damn.
He went to University of Maryland.
If I had known, I'd have said something. But no, I was Crazy Man, and he smiled every time he saw me.
I want to say Chuck Howley ended up playing for the Redskins as well.
I don't know Chuck Howley. I only know Randy White. That's because he's a Maryland guy.
Our question, what is your ultimate memento or souvenir? 206-421-ROCK.
9 KISW. The men's room returns with Miles and Thrill.
A couple here for you. Daniel Radcliffe took Harry Potter's famous glasses from the first and last films.
I would have too.
Will Ferrell. He has a pair of prosthetic testicles. He rubbed on Dale's drum kit in Step Brothers.
I would always take prosthetic testicles because who else has prosthetic testicles?
As well as Ron Burgundy's Channel 4 news ring from Anchorman. What else we got here? Chadwick Boseman.
You want to get the mustache? Come on now.
I think that was his. Chadwick Boseman had the Kimoyo bead bracelet after Black Panther stopped filming. Ryan Reynolds took home a Deadpool suit. Yeah. John Krasinski owns the teapot that Jim gifted Pam for Christmas in The Office. Seems like a little bit of a strange one. Zac Efron has Troy Bolton's Wildcats jersey from High School Musical and still wears Link Larkin's belt from Hairspray.
Now, how does that work? If you don't tell people, right, so you're working on the movie set and the movie or TV show comes to a close. And we decide, I want this prop or I want that prop. Because some people admit they kind of swiped these things, but they can admit it later and they never get in trouble. Other people, I know they negotiate for it.
It depends on how you spin it. Chris Pratt, he stole Star-Lord's iconic leather jacket from Guardians of the Galaxy, right? but he said he could dress up as a character while visiting children in the hospital, which I'm sure and I know he did.
Right.
But either way.
But that's not why he took it.
Either way.
Right. That's not why you took it.
Ralph Macchio kept the 1947 Ford from the iconic wax-on, wax-off scene.
I mean, God, he kept a car.
In The Karate Kid. And I'm sure that he probably ended up paying for that. I don't think he walked off the lot with a car.
That's got to be the car they use in Cobra Kai.
Is it the same car?
I'm not sure.
If it is, that's kind of fun. If he's like, well, I'm taking my investment, putting it in. Do you realize, this is stupid, but it makes sense. So Ralph Macchio is now like 60 or 61 years old. All right? So they just point out that he is now older than Mr. Miyagi was when the original Karate Kid came out.
Yeah.
Miyagi was, like 54, 55, somewhere around there. And I just can't wrap my head around it.
It's kind of strange, too, that the only person who's not around from that whole Outsiders cast is Patrick Swayze. Now, granted, he was one of the older characters in that movie, but you think...
But he had to die of old age.
How old that is. Yeah, he died of cancer, but you look at that, and you still can't believe that was the cast of one movie.
Mm.
As far as growing up and watching, teen movies and everything else.
I think the last thing that's done that
of these different guys, it's kind of impressive.
There's a ton of actors in that movie. It's crazy.
The only time it's like the Avengers movies. I think that might be one of the only franchise where you take all these A-listers, you put them together, and they're cool with it.
What is your ultimate memento or souvenir? 206-421-ROCK.
Hello, Veronica. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola.
Hola.
So my souvenir is a coffee cup, and I don't usually buy coffee cups when I'm on trips, but this was to remember the events of the day before.
All right.
I went on a girls' trip with 4 friends, and we ended up in Pensacola, Florida. And we decided after a day of drinking it would be a great idea to skinny dip under a full moon.
Of course.
And
naturally.
we did not... Yes, it was a great time. Until my best friend got stung on her left nipple by a jellyfish.
Oh, damn. Oh, no.
And we didn't know that moon jellies were a thing, where they come out in the full moon and they surface really close to shore.
Okay.
So she says, I think I just got stung, and all of her muscles started to seize up, and we had to drag her to the beach because she couldn't swim, and she couldn't stand up, so we got her on her knees, and she's shorter and I'm taller, so it put us in line pretty perfectly for me to urinate on her.
No, wait, did you already have to pee, or did you, like, somebody says, hey, pee on the sting. Like, if you don't have to pee, did you have to, like, wait 5 minutes, or could you just, like, on command, you have first aid urine?
I got a little stage fright. There were other people on the beach, and she's screaming, pee on me, and everyone's looking at us, and so...
I've seen the video.
Yeah. So I did pee on her, but it wasn't enough. So one of my other friends also had to pee on her as well. And she said that it instantly took the sting out and made her start feeling better. But she had muscle cramps for days.
So let me ask you this, though. You know, for women... Look, if you're a guy and you have to pee, not that every guy exercises this ability, but we can aim. You know what I mean? Like, if there's something in the toilet, when every guy pees, they will aim at that thing. It could be a turd standing on the back, a Cheerio, doesn't matter. We can aim. So when you're peeing on your friend, I'm assuming she's laying on her back and you just kind of squat over her?
No, she was up on her knees and we were holding her upright.
Okay.
And so I just leaned in and her face was in line with my belly button.
So are you considering that giving her a souvenir?
She is going to get a jellyfish tattooed on her side.
But, I mean, how much pee ended up anywhere other than her nipple? I mean, as a guy, like if say it's your nipple, I can aim at your nipple, right? But I just feel like both nipples, half her chest. I mean, how messy was this?
Oh, it was messy. She had it all over her chest, and then it, dripped down the rest of her body. Yep. And then we also had someone else pee on her as well to make sure that we covered the area significantly.
Did you start taking volunteers? Like, hey, you guys down there, if you got to pee, come on up.
You can't see it until it starts to rise. It feels like someone stabs you. but it's all external. It's the strangest thing in the world, but you don't know the shape it's going to take. It takes a little bit of time.
Right, because there's a tentacle that just kind of...
It was on my leg, and I just felt this sharp pain, and I thought, oh, man, something just bit me.
Yeah.
And then I looked, and there was no bite mark. So I was like, all right, well, what the hell's that? So then you get out, and you realize, okay, this thing wrapped all the way around my leg. Mm-hmm. And you don't know that because it's just a burn, and then you see like the burn mark after the fact. But it takes like 4 or 5 minutes for that to set in. Then you go, all right, what the hell happened there? And then someone explains, oh, you got stung by a jellyfish.
Did she have a weird like spiral on her boob where this thing hit her?
Yeah, it was a really weird mark, and it like went straight across her nipple, almost like she moved at the same time it was swimming by her and just kind of brushed her.
I'm thinking that jellyfish is a reincarnated teenage boy. Like, I don't want to sting you, but I see a boob. I got to do what I can. Man, oh man.
What is your ultimate memento or souvenir? 206-421-ROCK.
That is, I didn't know moon jellies were a thing till she brought it up.
Yeah, neither did I. But it's not a problem because I'm typically not naked in the ocean during a full moon.
That's when you see the glowing pictures of the jellyfish.
Yeah.
Right, and they don't have the tentacles. Right. It's just the round part.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, man. I hate jellyfish. Like, what is their point?
Warm water.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't even, like, do anything. Right? And basically, they're just a blob.
They don't have a brain.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, they're just kind of filtering through the water. And instead of filtering thing, like a whale's teeth, it's like, oh, no, we're going to make it hurt. We are going to sting you and kill you, but there's no thought process going on. I mean, there's just nothing. Mm-hmm. It's just a dangerous cloud floating in the water. Yay. Hello, Patty. Welcome to the men's room.
Patty, are you there?
Hey, guys.
There we go. Hola.
Patty.
Hola.
All right.
Sorry, let me drop speaker.
All right. So what is your souvenir?
My souvenir is a tattoo.
Nice. I'm already happy. Well, it depends. What is it?
Okay, so last month I went to Chicago for my first time to also see Tool for my first time.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And so while I was there, man, I got lots of pictures of like the city, and so my idea for a souvenir, I took to the tattoo shop pictures of the skyline that I had gotten, plus a picture of the 7-pointed star that they use in their light show.
Okay.
And I had her connect the T and the L from the Lateralis, from the Tool logo from the Lateralis album.
Okay.
With a piece of the skyline that I got a picture of, and then I got the 7-pointed star like kind of above and behind it.
That's cool. How did it turn out? Was it what you envisioned?
Actually, it was even better than I envisioned. The line work was a little shaky because my placement idea was entirely the wrong place. I couldn't sit still.
Where did you put it?
I put it right on my right rib cage.
Okay, I was getting to say, I'm going to guess at your ribs because of all the tattoos I've gotten, the hardest sit-downs, and you grin and bear it. I mean, 'cause what else are you going to do? But the rib cage hurts so bad. Here's the thing. So you get it done, and then if you're stupid like me, you forget how much it hurt. And then I got another idea. I'm like, ooh, and I'll put it on the other rib cage. And I did. And as soon as my man started, I'm like, oh, God damn it, that's right. This sucks. It sucks.
I think if I was in Chicago, I'd end up getting like a tattoo of some type of food. Right. Just based on how much I like to eat there. And I've never left there where I was just like, oh, my God, everything was delicious. Every single time I go there.
But I was saying to Mike, it might just be because Tool has cooler art.
They have great art, yeah.
I feel like that's the band I see the most tattoos of.
You see a lot of Tool because the Tool tattoo is cool. I see a lot of the Chili Peppers, like 8-pointed. It never says Chili Peppers. I'll see the Nirvana tattoo, but it's just the smiley face. And then Dave Matthews, he's not the kind of guy that inspires tattoos, but he has that like dancing girl kind of graphic thing to do. And I see that tattoo a lot. But on a lot of those people that I see the dancing girl, again, it's a Dave Matthews audience. Nothing against them, but like I said, it's not a metallic audience, right? So a lot of times that I see the dancing girl from Dave Matthews, that's the one tattoo that person has.
Used to be Misfits. You'd see a lot of Misfits tattoos.
Still see a lot of Misfits, but that's too cool not to.
What is your ultimate memento or souvenir? 206-421-ROCK.
Never seen Bay City Rollers. Not one. Not one tattoo of the Bay City Rollers. Hello, Sherman. Welcome to the men's room.
Hey, how you doing?
Hola.
Hola. Hey, so years ago, back when it was the Winston Cup and not from I don't know what they call it now.
Didn't they have to
But
change the
anyway,
name because of the cigarette?
They call it NASCAR.
Right.
Yeah. It was a drag racing out at SIR, Seattle International Raceway. Now I think it's PIR, Pacific.
Of course.
Raceway or some crap now. Anyways, I was out there in the 90s, and we did some, we walked around a little bit all day and came back. John Force had won the Funny Car Nationals, and so for the year. And so we ended up getting back there. And are you there?
Yeah, man, we're just listening.
All right, man. I didn't know if I was just talking. So anyways, we went back there, and he's standing there, and he's trying to find a beer. He's walking through. He's like, "Who's got a beer on this roof?" And someone threw him a Miller Lite, and Bud was his sponsor. So I was like, "Hey, can we get a picture?" And he sort of like threw the beer behind my back and stuff, and my buddy Todd's there. And we got the picture, and so came back next year, and he's there, and he won again. This was just on record for the Nationals. It was like 5.5 Nationals that he'd won at this time. And anyways, Todd's there and stuff, and I get his picture. I says, "Hey, can I get you to sign this?" And he comes over, he looks at it, he goes, "Man, those guys look pretty rowdy." Yeah, and invited us back, and it was a great time, man.
That is awesome. Yes.
I'm glad you got the autograph.
Mm-hmm. And you probably get to drink the Miller Lite. Because if you're under contract, you got to give the...
Well, that's why I said he just hid it behind her back for the picture. Like, they just can't see me with it. But as soon as we're done with this, I'm drinking this bad boy. By the way, just real quick, I like this one from the text lines, right? It says they work backstage at concerts.
All right.
So they get access to all kinds of different things. This person says, I work backstage at concerts. I have Katy Perry's nipple pasties.
Oh.
For some reason, I find that remarkably intriguing. First question is...
No, I want to know, how big are they?
Right. How big are the pasties?
Yes. What do they need to cover?
Because there was is it Megan Thee Stallion? Who's Boo? Cardi B?
There you
somebody.
go, Cardi B.
Where it's like, her pasties, you wear them as a yarmulke. Like, you got to go to a bar mitzvah. Like, dude, just use her pasty. Trust me, it'll
like
fit your head.
A propeller on it.
I mean, like, there are not pasties big enough for her, man. So I'm just curious. Just want to know.
Yeah. Is it dime size?
That way, if we ever meet Katy Perry, I know the size
or
of
is
your
it
nipple.
salami size?
Right. Hello, Sean. Welcome to the men's room.
Boo, bitches!
Boo!
So, Miles, does this nickname ring a bell? The Black Knight?
The Black Knight. I mean, as far as...
There's Batman?
Yeah.
In the sports world.
The Black Knight. I don't think so.
Okay, well, you're going to know who it is in a second. Years ago, I can't remember how old I was, but I was in my teens, I guess. My mom took me and a friend down to the Portland Pro-Am Tour, and I got to caddy for one of the amateurs. And the day that I did that, it just so happened to be my birthday. And halfway through the round, we were paired up with Gary Player. I got to caddy for Gary Player.
Oh, that's cool.
Damn.
Yeah, he always did wear black. I didn't know they called him the Black Knight. That's kind of weird being from South Africa that they would give him that moniker.
Meanwhile, Tiger's like, really?
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to go play golf at Sun City.
And golf. Okay.
Exactly. Don't worry about apartheid. I'm the Black Knight from South Africa.
Right?
I don't think he brought that up when he went home.
Exactly. Good God.
I got to caddy for him for a couple holes, and it was pretty cool because he was very nice.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end of the round, I got a golf ball signed by him. Now, what happened to that ball, I don't know. It's been years since I've seen it.
Was that a pumpkin? Was that a Pumpkin Ridge?
I think it's been so long.
Yeah, it probably was.
I was wondering about, like, of all the sports that I would not, if I'm an athlete, that I would not have to sign, it's golf. Right? Like football,
that's tough.
It's an easy signature. Baseball, you can get it on there. But I'm like, basketball, real simple. But I'm like, a golf ball, You want me to sign a goddamn dimple golf ball? Like, how about I write it on a sheet of paper and hand it to you, bro? I
That
get
is a
it.
weird thing to autograph.
You got a coaster?
honestly.
Anything?
Yeah.
What is your ultimate memento or souvenir? 206-421-ROCK.
Hello, Jeff. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola.
Hola.
Hey guys, I'm a first time caller. I've been listening to you guys for years.
Well, welcome to the show.
Yeah. So I got a chance. This was back when, the Sonics were back in the playoffs. I don't know if this was probably mid-90s.
Definitely wasn't the 2000s.
Yeah. And McMillan was the coach. I'd gotten this really, really nice Sonics jacket for Christmas. And the buddy that I got season tickets from said he couldn't go to a game, and the tickets also included a pass to go see them practice that day in the Coliseum or in Key Arena.
Right.
So my daughter and I go down to the game and go to this practice, and that was really cool. There were probably 20 people sitting in the stands while the Sonics were practicing. And after they got done, Nate came over and said, "Hey, anybody got any questions?" And a couple people asked him questions about, because I think we were playing the Spurs, if I remember right. So, they were just talking about the matchup against the Spurs. And I said, "Hey, would you sign my jacket?" And he said, "Sure." So I got this really nice Sonics jacket with Nate McMillan's signature on it. And I'm not sure, that might have been the year before he left. But,
That's pretty
so I still
solid,
got
man.
that jacket.
Nice.
And my daughter and I still talk about that whole day. It was a great time.
Hopefully you'll have a similar day maybe down the road sometime if they can just get that figured out.
Hey, there are some rumors going round, bro.
Coming up, Ryan Castle will join us from his basement dungeon studio bar. We will spin. Today we honor Mom with 10 songs about your mom. You are listening to The Men's Room.